Well, my day just got a whole lot better. Luckily, Kelly just got here, but anyway, what we're dealing with, that hose right there just blew right off the fitting. That's the one that goes to my hydrostatic motor on the transmission, so she ain't going nowhere. And well, you can tell we got a mess right there. I was able to coast and get it halfway out of the road. Oh me. Fortunately, I made it right here beside my grain bin, so we ain't gotta go far. And I hope this old tractor will pull this 40,000 pound combine, and I hope I got enough hydraulic oil at the reservoir to release the brakes and steer. All right, good, my brakes released. Have I got steering? At least a little bit. All right, now will the tractor pull it? Oh yeah, there she goes. And I still got steering. Thankfully I didn't drain the complete reservoir. Oh man, I was so worried about that. I mean, I was going down the road, good clip, and all of a sudden I heard a pop and lost all power, and I was able to coast just enough to get to kind of the side of the road. And you know, I thought maybe the drive shaft going to my final drives had popped or something like that. I certainly wasn't expecting to see that big old hydraulic hose blown off the fitting. That's the first time I've ever seen that. I mean, it straight blew off the fitting, and that's, unless it's the hose we replaced last year, that hose has been on there 13 years. All right, looks like we're gonna make it. Ah, crap, chain came unhooked. Oh well. Come on. What? Going to the transmission. All right, we are out of the road, and that went far better and easier than I imagined it would when I saw what happened. Come to think of it, I think all the oil in the PTO is what drives the hydrostat, whereas your other controls, your steering and brakes and other stuff, that comes out of the hydraulic oil reservoir. So I'm showing PTO lube pressure low, and I imagine it is. So looks like we're gonna have a pretty big fix in the morning trying to yank this thing off. I'll see you then, unless I decide to throw in the towel, because I'm right at that point. Oh man, what a the last 3 hours have probably been the worst 3 hours that I've had on the farm this year. Got the hydraulic hose off the combine, because the last thing I wanted to do is go to bed knowing that it's going to be about 24 degrees tomorrow morning, and I got to get down there in that mess and get nasty and cold pulling that thing off. So we got it off in the back of the truck. That's the hydraulic hose that we replaced last soybean harvest, and I'm gonna go online and look at Case IH, see if I doubt anybody's got one in stock, but they when they fixed that, when they didn't have that fitting, so we had to reuse the old fitting and use a compression type fitting, and the hose blew out of that compression type fitting. So I don't know, I don't want to be down for a couple of days waiting on a hose. A couple of days we can be cutting, but at the same time I don't want to go through all this again next year. So I'm gonna call Napa, see if they can maybe do a little something different to make sure that that hose holds Then we also did some work on the grain truck. One of the side glasses on the side popped out, and well, I need a new rubber piece in there. We got it back in there. I'm gonna silicone the heck out of it and hopefully get it to hold. And then we still got one more fix on the rail that the tarp grabs. A couple bolts worked out. They're probably stripped out. I'm gonna wait till the morning to look that up. Anyway, we've had the shop door open and been nice to work on that hose here in the shop, but we got our sprayer in there because it's not winterized yet. It's supposed to get down, like I said, 24, 25 degrees tonight, and we would have a bunch of stuff freeze and burst on there, so we had to leave it in here. And now I just got the heater going, getting the temperature up in here just a little bit, just to ensure that you know, it doesn't freeze. So I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. I'm gonna try to get some things figured out first thing in the morning, and then I'll bring you back. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, drill tore up tonight too. Now my office door won't unlock. Yeah, Carter was drilling and he called me. Said, Dad, one of the chain jumped off. So anyway, went there and looked at it, and not only did it jump off, it wrapped itself around another sprocket, wedged itself, and broke the main drive chain on that drill. So we got a lot of wrenching to do tomorrow. All right, there it is, a brand new factory Case IH hose. Fortunately, this morning I was able to find one within driving distance. Found one at Baker Implement in Kennett, Missouri, and hour and a half drive up there, an hour and a half drive back. We've got it. The reason I went with brand new factory is that, like I was saying last night, this one right here, the old one, that's the one where we replaced last year, and like I said, it lasted a year. And you can see right there, it blew right out of the fitting that we had to reuse. That's a fitting off the old original hose, and they cut it off, and then they had to use a compression fitting to put it on the new hose. And like I said, it blew smooth out of that. And when I posted this on Facebook last night, somebody was telling me that this is supposed to be rated for 8,000 PSI, and no, it's upside down, but right there it says 6,000 PSI. And it says there's not a lot of places that handle 8,000 PSI stuff, so that's likely why it blew out of that compression fitting. So, I mean, I could have taken it back to Napa, cut off about 3 inches of hose, put a new compression fitting on there, but then, you know, a year down the road, it happened again. And where's it most likely to happen? On the road, just like it happened last night, the absolute worst spot, because if we hadn't gotten lucky and been able to tow it off the road, I mean, it'd still be blocking traffic right there. And last thing I'm gonna do is like get up in the city limits of Jackson with all that traffic and have it blow off at the worst possible spot. Most likely going to blow off when, you know, places are closed, can't get parts, and it's got to sit there overnight. Just didn't want to do that. So anyway, I was able to pick up that hose for, I think it was $995, which I think was actually maybe a hair cheaper than what I paid to have this hose made last year. So just to be on the safe side, that's going to give us the best option. Not cheap, but can't have this happen again, because that could have been a really bad deal last night, but fortunately it wasn't. So Andy's back today, done got over, or hopefully he's gotten over his sickness anyway a little bit.
Almost.
This is just a great day to come back to, wasn't it?
I saw it on Facebook last night and I was like, oh man.
I might just need to call out sick another day.
It would have been a good one.
Instead of just sitting in the truck all day and hauling beans. Well, I'm sorry.
Nah, it happens. It definitely happens.
At least we got it off last night. Didn't have to take it off first thing this morning.
Yeah, that's good. And you said that was 9. I'm pretty sure the one we replaced last year was like 1,100. So.
It was over 1,000. I remember saying that.
I remember us saying that. It was 4 digits.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked because last night I found out the part number and got online and trying to find out if any of the H&R dealers had it. None in the area had it. Then I started searching Baker Implement, and all the Baker Implements in Missouri that I searched didn't have it. I didn't happen to click on the one in Kennett, Missouri though, so fortunately they had it. Otherwise, I'd had to have it overnighted to H&R, so it wouldn't have come in till tomorrow, so we would have lost all day today, and then I don't even want to know what the cost of overnighting that big hose would have been. This wasn't a great situation. I wish it had happened, but it couldn't have turned out any better than the way that it all happened. And hopefully here in about an hour we'll have this thing up and ready to cut some beans again, because wind's blowing again today. I think this is the last day the wind's supposed to be blowing, and I hate to waste any windy days this time of season on cutting beans. So I left it in the cab of my truck, so hopefully it'll be a little bit more flexible than riding in the back of the cold truck. So let's get it slapped on before it starts getting colder. But anyway, that hose goes to the top port on my hydraulic drive motor on the transmission, and it's the route it goes on top of the battery and follows these big hoses up here and goes right up there to the hydrostatic pump. Not that hard to get on, it's just big and stiff and not very flexible. All right, we just got it all put back together. Andy put quite a bit of oil in there, so now we're going to make sure it moves, make sure we got all the air out of the hydraulic system, and then retop the oil off. All right, that should pop up. We should have a low control pressure warning. Problem is that tube that the oil goes in for the PTO is like this big around, and all this stuff is cold. It's not wanting to flow. It's probably sticking to the side of the tube and giving an incorrect measurement on the dipstick and just not flowing in there good. All right, before we try moving it, we're going to leave it in neutral and just move our... Yeah, I can hear air going through out there. All right, sound like all the air's out forward. Let's go reverse. All right, now we'll put her in gear, and she should move. Oh yeah, there we go. All right, now we're just gonna put her back in neutral, and we're gonna push the hydrostat forward just to get the oil circulating and warmed up, and that way we make sure we got an accurate reading on our dipstick and everything. Yeah, another big reason I wanted to go with a CNH line rather than getting that one repaired is that hose blows again about $200 worth of hydraulic oil down the drain. So I have a feeling if we gotten that line repaired, there's a better than a 50% chance it would have blown again. I would ultimately had to wind up buying the line from Case IH, you know, plus it would cost me, you know, another $200+ in hydraulic oil. Not to mention the danger of this thing being stranded out on the road, potentially a busy road in an intersection. I mean, can you imagine if it would have blown as I was crossing the 4-lane in Jackson, you know, taking off from a stop, which is where it's most likely to blow. And you know, the reason we see all these failures on hydraulic lines on the drive system, the hydrostatic systems, why we see them on the road so much is, well, that's where they got the most stress on the drive line. It's in high gear. You're trying to take off, get 40,000 pounds accelerating. You know, in the case of a sprayer, you know, 30,000 pounds accelerating. And that's where the most strain is on the lines. And we just got fortunate it happened right as I was trying to climb the hill right out here beside the grain bins, rather than being there in the city limits taking off, you know, from a turn signal or something. I can only imagine just how much worse this could have been. All right, she's purring like a kitten now, 23 miles an hour. I think we finally have gotten everything that broke yesterday, got it fixed. And then I just got the drill fixed where chain came off and wedged itself and snapped another chain. Had to replace one, and then we had to take some links out. While I was going to get the hose, Andy got the issues with the semi truck fixed with the tarp stop, and then getting that glass. He got his silicone back in there to where hopefully it'll stay until I can get another rubber surround to go in there. We got no leaks on the combine, filled up with fuel. We didn't even bother greasing or blowing it off because I mean at best we're gonna get a half day in anyway. I think it's about 2 o'clock right now. They've already gotten some of the stuff moved over here to Ferguson, so we're gonna go hook up this header and try to pound out as many beans as we can while the wind is blowing and the sun is shining. All right, we just got over to what I think is going to be my absolutely worst farm of the year, regardless of crop. This is one of my thinnest pieces of hill ground. It's in an area where we got the least amount of rain, and it was also one of my latest planted crops. All of those is a recipe for disaster, and that's fully what I expect on this farm, although we are pulling our combine in it, which is already beat my expectations from back in August. But looked at the totals on my yield monitor for our last farm. It's saying that farm averaged 25 bushels an acre. I mean, a lot better than I thought it was going to be. But unfortunately, this farm does not have any of that nice bottom ground that the last farm had. And I mean, you see how short these beans are, and there's going to be very few good places on this farm at all. But we'll go ahead and knock it out, and that way the rest of harvest, it can be all uphill from there. But I'll go ahead and say it, you know, I'm hoping this farm averaged 10 bushels. I think based upon what I've seen so far, I'd say that's a pretty realistic expectation, and who knows, maybe it'll surprise me. Well, I gotta say, these beans over here are not disappointing. Ah, that is awful. Sad thing is, that's still better than what I thought they'd be in August. Now we have hit, you know, they're not all like that. I mean, we've hit several pockets of, you know, beans in the 20s or whatever, and I'd say so far, you know, they're averaging over 10. But and last time I cut beans this bad was, sound like a broken record, but 2007. And that year, I mean, that year was still even worse than what this year was across the board. I mean, everything that we harvested that year has yielded worse than what it did this year. It's just a testament to how far we've gone with our soil health, considering that, you know, the drought this year was worse than 2007. But in 2007, we also had an Easter freeze, which devastated the wheat crop. I think I averaged like 35 bushels an acre on wheat that year, and then we planted some double crop soybeans. Luckily I only had 100 acres that year of wheat and double crop soybeans, but we planted some double crop soybeans, and then the drought hit, and we weren't set up to, you know, really plant double crop soybeans very good. We had an old John Deere 7100 11 row 19-inch bean planter that year, and just didn't cut through the wheat straw real good. We didn't get a good stand. I replanted it with a 7300 8 row 38-inch, and some of those beans, I mean, they didn't get that tall. We had terrible stand. Anyway, we had a 1660 combine. It's got a 180 bushel grain tank on it, and I cut my mom's farm, which was about 60 acres. I cut that entire farm in one day with a 20-foot header, and by the time I got done, the grain bin on my combine was full. Averaged 3 bushels an acre. It's going to take a whole lot for me to top that one. Then I think the other farm we had, a double crop beans, it was in Madison County, better ground, and if I recall, I don't think the drought was quite as severe there. I'm gonna say that those beans averaged in the teens maybe. The thing was, even though that year was worse as far as yield, we only lost $100,000 total that year. Now that seemed like an astronomical amount of money, but we're gonna lose many times that over this year, I believe, when it's all said and done. Well, we finally got our first bin load over here. Monitor showing we cut 222 bushels and we've gotten 15 acres done. Gives us an average yield of 15 bushels an acre, but better than what I expected. And we're cutting, you know, probably some of the worst ground on the farm too. So maybe she'll ease on up a little bit by the time we're done. All right, we rolling right on along. I picked up a stray on the side of the field. Tell everybody hi, Mia. She's such a pretty dog, ain't she? Who's a pretty girl? Who's a pretty girl? Anyway, we've made pretty good progress here the last 2.5 hours, but that sun's about to set. I hope the wind don't die down because we got really good cutting conditions right now, and I'd like to continue them on well after dark. I know last night the wind died down right about this time, and then we started getting a pretty good frost, so we'll see. I sure would like to have fewer of these miserable looking beans out here in the morning that I got to look at when I come back out to the field. Oh, it could be a pretty sunset. All right, we picked this up in the field. I think we also picked up another problem in the field also. I was going along through there and cutting, and all of a sudden my belt on this side started slowing down and stopping. Cleared off, slow down and stop, and then anyway, finally caught a glimpse of it. My belt has jumped out of its track. It's supposed to be beneath that right there. And it's just causing too much friction drag, and I think I just picked up a bunch of dirt down here. Yeah, like right up under there. I think that's packed full of dirt, and that's one of the problems with running my cutter bar tilted all the way down. I mean, it picks up a lot of dirt, and then it gets behind the belt and can't escape, and then it forces it out of its track. Yeah, see all that dirt up in there? And to fix it, I really need some compressed air in my air wand, but I believe I don't even have my air wand in my truck, and I believe my air compressor is out of gas. I don't know. I think I'm gonna try and dig with a screwdriver, see if I can move some of it around and then wedge this side back down in there, cut my header on, and let it, just like a bicycle train, let it pull itself back into the track. If that don't work, I'm just going to the house. All right, we dug as much dirt as we could out from under there, and we got the edge started back up under there. Let's kick it on, see if she'll feed herself back in there and clean out the rest of that dirt. Yeah, see, she ain't hardly wanting to move. Maybe she'll catch here in a second and go on, run back in there. I'm gonna let her cutter bar down. That way those rollers are tilted like that, and let that dirt kind of run around and fall out the front there. Well, I dug enough to help it, but you can tell it's still pushed up right here. I need my air wand and I need some air. I dug as much as I could out from under there, so I don't know. We'll go try it. If it pops back out again, we done for today. You know, I've had a couple of long conversations with some farmers today. One of them, a small farmer in our area, told me he was thinking about getting out of farming, at least the row crop side, and keeping his other ag industries, and you know, just basically told me what I've told y'all all year long. You know, I'm tired of beating my head against the wall with, you know, very little hope of success. You know, times are really, really bad in the ag industry right now, and I've explained a lot of them in detail over the years. But it's not just me facing it. You know, farmers all across the U.S. are facing it, and especially farmers here in West Tennessee who have had to suffer through a bad drought and have some absolutely awful yields this year. And, you know, he's told me that, you know, he's thinking about just, you know, renting all of his land out and, you know, and stop farming. And been farming a long, long time. And just had another conversation with one of my good friends, Logan Hanks, who him and Bobby Lee run the Talk Dirt to Me podcast on YouTube and other platforms. Oh, by the way, y'all be sure to check out that podcast. They're great to listen to. Anyway, you know, talking about our yields, how bad things are and everything, and he asked me, you know, what the heck are we going to do? Like, it looks like that there's no way forward, no path forward to being successful in row crop farming right now. And he's not wrong. You know, there's a lot of farmers all across the U.S. that are making good yields this year, and a lot of them at best are just barely breaking even, not making any money, just barely break even, and that's with good yields. You know, I thought about it for a minute, and I'm like, you know, I have no answers about the farming side. You know, I've tried just about everything I can to be successful and mitigate costs. And Lord willing, I'm gonna try a few more things next year, but I mean, I've sharpened my pencil just about all I can. So anyway, my reply back to him was very simple, and it's the one that should be at the forefront of all of our minds: faith. You gotta have faith. Have faith in the Lord that the Lord will provide. He says he will provide. He will provide for the faithful. But we've gotta have faith. And I've talked about this in years past on videos. But my thick head sometimes, well, looks like we are done. Looks like that belt just jumped out of track again. Wait. Well, that's going to be it for today. We just got to, we're going to have to put some gas in the air compressor and get my wand in the morning and blow it out. But anyway, we've got to have faith. I have faith that the Lord will provide for me. I don't know if he'll provide for me by farming though. But I do know that the Lord has a plan for me, and he has a path for me that will ultimately be the best for me and also be the best for mankind, as long as I don't resist that path going forward. I hope it's by farming, but you know, it might not be by farming. I mean, I have no idea where the Lord plans to carry me in the future, but I just pray that I'm not foolish enough to resist it whenever that path is presented to me. And if he decides to, you know, provide for me by farming, he'll give me a way. So I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about the absolutely hideous ag economy. I'm not worried about this 84-day drought that we had this year and the piss poor yields that we got, the low prices we got, the high input prices we got. I'm not worried about it a bit. There will be a path going forward for me. It just might not be sitting in the seat of the combine harvesting my own crop going forward. I don't know. You know, but that's something I have to keep on reminding myself on a daily basis. Have faith in the Lord that he will provide. You know, it's real easy when times are good, we're making great yields out there, to thump my chest and say, look what I did. I didn't do that. I only did it through the grace of God and because he provided that for me. He gave me the ability to do it. It's real easy to have faith in yourself when things are going good. But not only do we have to have faith in the Lord whenever things are going bad, we also got to have faith when things are going good too. And that's something that I struggle with, and I've got to remind myself on a daily basis. You know, every time I get depressed and down in the dumps when my crops aren't doing what they're supposed to do, you know, when we miss that much needed rain that was predicted, and things look bad for the coming week and everything, you know, I need to constantly remind myself that we're not in control. And that I only need to concern myself with the things that I can control. I can't control the weather. I can't control the commodity prices. I can't control the price of fertilizer and seed and chemicals and everything else. I can't control any of that. I can control what I plant, you know, the inputs I apply and all that other stuff. And that's what I need to be focusing on to do the job to the best of my ability. Pray daily for wisdom and guidance in making the decisions that I've got to make, and all the other stuff. Just let it go and have faith that the good Lord's going to provide for me. All right, we're going to move our reel all the way out, give us as much headroom as I can so I don't bang my head on one of those plastic spikes in the morning. Then we'll get the air compressor loaded up with gas, get my wand. Then we'll go to cleaning out those belts in the morning. I'll see y'all then.